You are crouched in the dark. It is 40,000 years ago, and the fire has burned low. Somewhere out past the edge of the light, something is moving. You cannot see it, but you can feel it watching. You have no gun, no fence, no door to lock, just a thin ring of dying embers between you and the night. And the thing in the dark is bigger than you, faster than you, and it has done this 1,000 times. To it, you are not a person. You are meat. This is the world your ancestors lived in, every single night, for millions of years. And somehow, against everything, they survived it. Tonight, we find out how. So, here is the question. How did ancient humans survive a predator attack? Not fight off a house cat, survive cave lions, sabertooth cats, hyenas the size of a small bear, and eagles that could carry off a child. Think about what you actually are as an animal. You have no claws, no fangs worth mentioning. You cannot outrun almost anything with 4 legs. You cannot climb as fast as a leopard. In a straight fight, you lose to nearly every large predator on Earth. And yet, here you are. Which means somewhere back down the line, a soft, slow, clawless ape did the impossible. It shared a landscape with monsters and came out the other side, not by being stronger, by being something the predators had never faced before. And here is the thing. There is no single trick. It is never one thing. Survival came from a stack of edges, layered on top of each other. The group, the throw, the fire, the spear, and a brain that turned fear into strategy. Pull any one of them out and you get eaten. Together, they flipped the whole story. Let's go. Here is what nobody tells you about our ancestors. For most of our history, we were not the hunters. We were the hunted. We love the story of the mighty caveman. Spear raised, standing over a beast, but the fossils tell a darker, more honest tale. When scientists study the bones of early humans, they keep finding the same grim marks. Puncture holes, tooth scores, talon scratches. Some early human skulls have 2 neat holes in them, and when you hold a saber-tooth cat's fangs up to those holes, they fit perfectly. One famous study of early hominins estimated that somewhere between 6 and 10% of them were killed by predators. Let that number sink in. That is not a rare accident. That is a steady, everyday threat, generation after generation. To a cave lion or a giant hyena, an early human was not a rival. It was an easy meal. Slow, soft, no armor. Out in the open, a lone human was one of the safest things a predator could choose to attack. So forget the swaggering caveman for a moment. For millions of years, our ancestors woke up every day knowing that something out there wanted to eat them. And they had to solve that problem, or vanish. This is the pressure that shaped us. Not comfort, fear. And the wild part is this, that constant danger did not make us weaker. It forced us to get clever and to stick together in ways that would eventually make us the most dangerous animal of all. Keep that reversal in your head as we go. Everything that makes humans frightening today, the teamwork, the tools, the planning ahead, was forged by millions of years of being afraid. So who exactly was hunting us? This is where it stops being abstract. The predators our ancestors faced were not house pets. They were nightmares with fur. Picture the cave lion, bigger than any lion alive today, prowling the same valleys as early humans. Picture the saber-tooth cat, with dagger teeth built to punch through hide and throat. Picture hyenas, not the cowardly scavengers of cartoons, but powerful pack hunters with jaws that crush bone like a biscuit. In the caves of ancient Europe and Asia, we find the bones of cave bears that stood taller than a man on their hind legs. Along the rivers, crocodiles waited exactly where thirsty humans had to come to drink. And here is the one people forget, the sky. There were eagles large enough to snatch a small child straight off the ground. Every part of the landscape had a predator matched to it. The grass, the forest, the water, the cliffs, the air. There was no safe direction to look. For an early human, the world was not scenery. It was a map of ways to die. And the terrible genius of it is that everyone of these hunters was better at killing than you were. Faster, stronger, armed by nature. You were bringing bare hands to a war of claws and fangs. And they did not only hunt us for food, some saw us as competition, to be driven off or destroyed. A leopard will kill a human and stash the body in a tree, the same way it stashes a gazelle. To the predators, we were simply part of the menu of the world, no more special than a deer. which raises an obvious, uncomfortable question. If they were built for killing, and we were built for almost nothing, how are we the ones still standing? Let's be brutally honest about the body you are working with. As a survival machine, a lone human is a joke. You have no natural weapons. Your fingernails will not tear anything. Your teeth are for chewing berries, not ripping flesh. You cannot sprint. A hyena, a lion, a wild dog, they will run you down in seconds over open ground. You cannot climb to safety faster than a leopard, which basically lives in trees. You have thin, bare skin with no fur to protect it and no shell to hide in. You are, physically, one of the most defenseless large animals on the planet. So on paper, this should be a very short story. The predators win. We go extinct, like so many other human species and countless animals did. But that is not what happened. And the reason is that survival was never really about the body. It was about what our ancestors could do that no claw or fang could ever match. They could think ahead, they could work together, and they could turn the whole world around them into a weapon. That single shift, from fighting with the body to fighting with the mind, is the hinge the entire human story swings on. Here is an edge people almost always miss. Our ancestors did not just react to predators. They chose the ground. Think like a hunted animal for a second. Where you sleep is life or death, so early humans got picky. They favored caves and rock shelters with a solid wall at their back, so nothing could circle behind them. They picked high ledges a heavy cat could not easily reach. They camped near cliffs or with water on one side, turning the landscape itself into a fence. And they learned to read the land like a threat map, fresh tracks by the river, the alarm calls of birds suddenly going silent, the smell of a kill nearby. A perfect ambush spot, quietly avoided. To an outsider, it looks like aimless wandering. It was nothing of the sort. It was a constant, running calculation. Where is the danger? Where is the cover? Where do we run if it comes? Most animals survive on instinct alone. Humans stacked something extra on top. Foresight. The ability to look at an empty valley and imagine the lion that is not there yet and plan around it. That habit of seeing danger before it arrives is one of the most human things about you. So here's the first edge, and it is the oldest one. Numbers. A single human is an easy meal, but a group of humans is a completely different problem. Watch how it works, even today. When a troop of monkeys spots a leopard, they do not scatter in silence. They scream, they point, they mob. Suddenly, the ambush is ruined because the whole forest knows the predator is there. Early humans took that instinct and supercharged it. Together, they could post lookouts while others slept. They could shout warnings that carried across a valley. They could stand shoulder to shoulder, wave arms, throw stones, and make themselves look like one huge, loud, unpredictable thing instead of a line of easy snacks. A predator does the math. Attacking a lone human is cheap. Attacking a screaming, rock-throwing group of 10 is a good way to get injured. And an injured predator is a dead predator, so it backs off. This is why being social was not a nice bonus for early humans. It was a survival weapon. The ones who bonded, who cooperated, who protected each other lived. The loners got picked off. Over millions of years, that quietly rewired us into the intensely social animal you are today. Your deep, gut-level need to belong to a group is not weakness. It is the oldest survival tool we have, written straight into your instincts. And notice, it is not only fear that binds a group, it is trust. To sleep while someone else keeps watch, you have to believe they will stay, and not run and leave you. Predators, without ever meaning to, taught us how to rely on each other. Now here is an edge that sounds small, but changed everything. We can throw. I know, it does not sound like a superpower, but stop and think. You are almost the only animal on Earth that can hurl an object, hard and accurately, at a target far away. A chimp can throw, but clumsily, weakly. You can put a rock through, a gap the size of a dinner plate from across a road. And scientists traced why. Around 2 million years ago in Homo erectus, the shoulder reshaped. It turned into something like a slingshot, storing energy and snapping it forward, launching a projectile at astonishing speed. That is a uniquely human machine. And think about what it means against a predator. Every other fight in nature happens up close, in range of the claws and teeth. But a human with a rock can hurt you from 10 meters away before you can lay a paw on them. Suddenly, the soft, slow ape has reach. A pack of humans flinging sharp stones is facing you with a weapon you cannot answer. You would have to cross a storm of rocks just to get near them. For the first time, the prey could strike the predator and stay out of reach while doing it. That single ability, throwing, quietly turned distance itself into a shield. And distance is the one thing no set of claws can ever take away from you. And it did not stop at rocks. That same throwing arm would one day launch spears, and much later, arrows. Every ranged weapon in all of human history grows from that one strange gift. The power to reach out and touch something dangerous without ever letting it touch you back. But the real game changer only came out at night: fire. Here is the thing about almost every large predator. Deep in its instincts, it is terrified of fire. Fire means the forest is burning. Fire means run. So when our ancestors learned to control it, they got their hands on the one thing the monsters would not walk into. Picture that ring of firelight in the dark. Inside it, warmth, light, and safety. Outside it, the predators pace and stop and cannot make themselves cross that glowing line. For the first time in the history of our kind, the night had a wall made of light. It let humans do something radical: sleep. Really sleep on the ground in the open, instead of huddling in a tree hoping nothing found them. And a well-rested, protected group is a smarter, stronger group. Fire did more than keep us warm and cook our food. It bought back the night. It took the predator's favorite hunting hours, the dark, and turned them into the safest time to gather close and rest. Every campfire you have ever sat around is an echo of that ancient deal. Light on the inside, everything that wants to eat you, kept out there in the black. And notice what fire really was. Not a claw, not muscle. It was knowledge. A trick you had to learn and teach and keep alive. And once you hold fire, the whole night changes shape. Predators that ruled the darkness for millions of years suddenly find one glowing spot on the map they cannot enter. A single flame flips the balance of power after sundown. The predators never stood a chance against that. And then our ancestors did something no prey animal had ever done. They stopped only defending and started reaching back. The spear. For a long time, we assumed early weapons were crude, just sharpened sticks. Then, in a coal mine in Schoningen, Germany, archaeologists found something staggering. A set of wooden throwing spears, beautifully made, carefully balanced, and unbelievably old. The estimates run from a couple 100,000 up to nearly 400,000 years. These were not desperate scraps of wood. They were engineered. Someone chose the right branch, shaped it, balanced the weight toward the front like a modern javelin, and even seasoned the wood so it would not crack. That is design. That is a mind planning ahead. And a spear does two things at once. Combined with fire and the group, it means a predator can no longer treat humans as easy prey. Now the hunters risk becoming the hunted, and the very same tool that fends off a lion can be turned outward, toward the deer and the horse. The line between defense and offense blurs. The animal that spent millions of years running and hiding was, slowly, becoming something new. A predator of its own. That is the quiet turning point of the whole story. The prey picked up a weapon it could use from a distance and started walking toward the danger instead of away from it. And once that switch flipped, it never flipped back. The descendants of the hunted would go on to become the top predator on every continent they touched. Not because they grew claws, but because they never stopped improving the weapon. In their hands and the plan inside their heads. Now let's be honest, because it did not always work. We tell this like a triumph, and in the long run it was. But for any single human, on any single night, the ending was often ugly. The fossil record makes that painfully clear. A huge number of the early human bones we have were not buried by loved ones. They were dragged into caves by hyenas and big cats, gnawed and left in the predator's den. In a real sense, we know some of our ancestors, only because something ate them and we found the leftovers. Fire went out, lookouts fell asleep, a child wandered too far from the group, and the dark did what the dark does. So this is not a story of easy victory. It is a story of a species that lost and lost and lost and still, as a whole, refused to be erased. The edges did not save everyone. They just saved enough. And every one of those losses taught the survivors something. Which cave was dangerous, which sound in the night meant death. That hard. Bloody knowledge got passed down parent to child. And slowly it added up into an edge no predator could ever match. And that brings me to the wildest part, the thing I saved for the end. The oldest murder victim we have ever found was a toddler. It is called the Taung child, a member of an early human species that lived in South Africa around 2 million years ago, discovered back in 1924. For decades, people assumed a big cat killed it. But look closely at the tiny skull, and you find a different signature. Scratch marks around the eye sockets, damage that matches almost exactly what modern eagles leave on the monkey skulls they eat. The most likely story? A giant bird of prey swooped down, seized a human child, and carried it off. Sit with that for a second. One of the earliest members of our family that we have ever found was somebody's lunch, taken by an eagle. But here is the twist inside the twist. Being the hunted did not just leave us with scars. It built our minds. The reason you flinch at a sudden movement in the dark. The reason a group of strangers feels safer than being alone. The reason we are wired to cooperate at all may trace right back to those millions of years as prey. Here is the line I want you to remember. We did not conquer the predators by becoming stronger than them. We conquered them by becoming smarter together in the dark. So here is where we zoom back out. To you. Tonight, you will sleep behind a locked door, under a solid roof. With a light you can turn on with your thumb. No cave lion, no sabertooth, no shape pacing at the edge of the firelight. That safety feels normal. It is not. It is the prize at the end of a 2 million year fight your ancestors barely won. One night at a time, every wall, every lock, every streetlight is a descendant of that first ring of fire in the dark. We are the children of the ones who made it. To morning, sleep well, they earned it for you. If this changed how you see that fear of the dark, stick around. There is always another layer.